What do you What are you guys watching for when the Raiders have the ball?
Well, I guess Amir White's back, so I don't know what's. Are they going to go back to like a shared rotation with him and Madison, or is Madison going to earn that spot going forward? I mean, then this is a good week for either way because the Rams are truly, truly horrendous at run defense. So if you can't run this week, I'm not sure you're ever going to be able to run the ball. So I think if it's Madison or Zamir or Abdullah, you need someone to kind of get that going, kind of take some of the load off Aidan O'Connell because I think clearly, he needs a little help as far as some the defense is not totally locking in on the passing game.
Yeah, I mean, if this is a pass-heavy offense, like they're not going to have much success. They got to find a way to get this ground game going. And I know we've been really critical of the running backs this year, but again, as much as it is on them, it's also on the offensive line and also offensive coordinator Luke Getsy. Just sort of getting more creative with the run game. I think we saw that, you know, briefly against the Browns, that one game where they got really creative with the run game, but we haven't really seen that replicated since then. I think they need to lean back into that and get the ground game going and take some of that pressure off of O'Connell. Like he's just not a guy that you want, being a high volume passer, and they don't really have the receiving talent to have much success, as offense, particularly if Myers isn't able to get back healthy. And so, I think that's going to be the key this week. We'll see if Zamir's able to get back out there and reclaim his job and maybe find a groove.
Yeah, the Rams have the second worst defense in terms of run defensive success percentage. They're a very light front. They could pass rush though. They are surprisingly third in pressure rate on third or 7+ So you don't want to get in that territory with them. They do have a couple young good pass rushers. Jared Verse has been one of the best rookies so far this year. Brendan Fisk has been able to pass rush from the interior, so you don't want to get into a position where you get into a long yardage situations with this team because that's the best thing they do is actually pass rush when they can pin their ears back. They are the fifth worst team as far as giving up explosive pass plays. Their corners are not good. Sorry, 1 second. I'm forgetting his name, but yeah, the corners are not good. Darius Williams and Kobe Durant, not good. You could get behind them if you get the time. So you could create some explosive passes. But the key is, again, be a little bit more efficient in a run game. I think the Raiders' run game has gotten better since the beginning of the year, but it's more like they hit some explosive plays a little bit more often, but they're not very efficient. Against the Rams, you want to be able to, get 4 or 5 yards and stay out of those long yardage situations. JPJ had probably his worst game of the season against Cameron Hayward, against Hayward, but Hayward is one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league, and he got kind of a baptism by fire. He's not going to face anybody nearly as good against the Rams in run defense. So we'll see if he could bounce back. But not having Parham will hurt. But I thought Meredith played fine. We'll see if they
Not
can.
good, just fine.
No, yeah, he played better than average for sure. There were a few reps where I'm
Batting
like,
average
whoa,
is good, right?
yeah,
Oh,
okay.
So he's all right. wasn't the all pro or something. I think you thought he was great.
I'd say
I
great.
mean,
I think
they
good's
didn't really,
better
they
than
didn't really do
fine.
that much on offense.
I'm just being a pain in the ass. Don't mind me.
But yeah, I mean, I think the Rams. I do think the Rams are like not as bad as their record says that they are. I mean, they did get their ass kicked by the Cardinals in week 2, but like the rest of their losses are like 3, 4, 5 points. Like it's been a bunch of 1-score games that they've been losing this season. So I wouldn't get too comfortable with like thinking this is like, oh yeah, they're for sure they're gonna beat the Rams
No,
definitely. So
I don't think anyone's
uh,
doing that, especially if Cup
yeah,
comes back. I think if Cup comes back, then it's going to be a load. But we'll see. I mean, I'm curious how the players respond. I think yeah, clearly they've got blown out twice in a row now. But I think the whole Davante thing, they finally have some closure and him being gone, I think that'll be good for everybody. We'll see if they can respond to kind of having the guys who they can say really want to be here going forward, kind of thing, and kind of show that they have some pride. So we'll see.
Are you saying that the team's going to get a Davante Adams trade jolt?
I am saying that. I'm not sure what it's worth. I think there will be. I think there's just going to be a small jolt, maybe not an earthquake kind of jolt, maybe like a little aftershock. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people thought the Rams would be a very competitive, good team this year because their offense is very good before the season, and obviously their entire offensive line got hurt in the first game, and then Cooper Cup gets hurt, and Puka Nakua gets hurt. Nakua's not going to play in this game, but um, they've been able to create some explosive pass plays because Matthew Stafford is Matthew Stafford, and he just makes some really difficult passes. And then he'll have Cooper Cup back, and when Cooper Cup's back, he's going to get like 20 targets a game. So, that's hard to stop with the type of routes that he runs. But what the Rams do very well is they run the ball very well with Kieran Williams, second in rushing success rate, and the Raiders have struggled to stop the run, and they made Najee Harris look like Jerome Bettis. So that's going to be a concern. We'll see if they can stop Kieran Williams and this Rams run game. That's where it starts off.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to see if they can tackle. I mean, we talked about it a lot last week, but like they're like the worst tackling team in the league right now, and again, the defense they suffered a lot of injuries. They have a lot of reasons to have excuses, but it's still NFL players out there, man. That tackling's been really really awful, and so I think the Rams they typically like to play a physical style of football, and if those woes continue, it might be a long afternoon for the defense. So I think that's definitely the thing to watch when the Rams have the ball.
Yeah, tackling is an issue. There were times when they had not it looked like they had Najee Harris completely bottled up, and then he'll just come pop out at the other end. Like it is an issue, and Kieran Williams is a better back than Najee is, so they're gonna have to wrap up. And just a side note, I think Divine Diablo played one hell of a game against the Steelers. He was one of the lone bright spots against the Steelers. I thought it was probably the best game I've seen him play because he's always had that ability to make those flash plays, but then he'll have like 3 or 4 plays where you're just like, what the hell is he doing? But I thought in this game, he, he was just very, he was where he needed to be. There was not a lot of mental errors, and you had those big flash plays. And he even had an interception that was taken away by a very questionable roughing the passer penalty. So good to have him and Spillane back together. All right, matchups of the game. What are you guys looking for as far as matchups?
I think it's kind of hard to say with Cup since they move him around so much, but he spends a good amount of maybe most of his time in the slot. What do you think, Ted?
Yeah, he spends most of the time in slots, and even when he's outside, he's going to be running in breaking routes a lot, running those type of option routes where he ends up inside.
Yes.
So I think he'll be matched up with Nate Hobbs a fair amount.
Yeah, I would circle that. I think Cooper Cup and Nate Hobbs. I think obviously that's going to be their game plan is to feed Cooper Cup the ball the entire game, and Nate Hobbs going to get a lot of action in that matchup. And so is he able to hold up? And if he is, that could help make this Rams offense more one dimensional because I don't think they really have anybody else in the pass game that really scares you. And so I think that
matchup
is
scare you?
Not really, not personally.
Tutu.
But yeah, I think that's my matchup.
That's a good matchup. I like that one. I think the other side of the ball, I think obviously Bowers has kind of gotten Bowers has gotten better and better, and he's kind of the guy we all thought he was going to be. And I think I don't have any stats handy, but I've heard that the Rams are not great at covering tight ends. They've had been exploited in the past there, so I think if that's true, that'd be a huge thing for not only for Brock Bowers, also Harrison Bryant, who's a very solid pro, had some catches last week. I think Harrison Bryant kind of taking over for Michael Maris, who's been out. So I think a couple tight ends who can catch the ball and make some plays could be dangerous in this game.
Yeah, Brock Bowers, man, he is. Well, I think he's leading the league in receiving yards for tight ends right now, right?
I believe so. I think he's still. I think he was.
Kelsey's kind of come on back on again of late, but I think it's probably close.
Yeah, but what a draft pick. I mean, this guy looks like he's going to be. He's at least a top 5 tight end right now, and I think blocking was supposed to be his weakness, but he's a pretty decent blocker. I mean, they're not asking him to go, one-on-one with the defensive end base blocker or anything, but they put him on the move. They help him with double teams, and he's fine doing those things. And then obviously, the receiving end of it. I mean, he's just he's been amazing. So it's rare that you see a Raiders draft pick and you don't have to squint to say, is he good? Is he not? This guy is very clearly one of the best tight ends already, and I wouldn't be surprised in a few years we're not talking talking about him like the top tight end in the league.
I'll say this though: if you take a tight end at 13 in the NFL draft, he has to be a top 5 tight end. Like, yeah, I mean, the tight end
But
is.
he looks like it
Oh
already.
yeah, I'm
So
saying he is. I'm saying that's kind of where the bar was. You get picked that high in the draft as a tight end because there's some like there were no defensive players at that point that were taken. So you choose a tight end over the best defensive guy in the draft. So I think the bar to me it has to be really high already. So he is probably a top 5 guy already, and to me he had to be to kind of make that draft pick be a worthwhile one. It's so high.
Yeah, I don't think we thought it would be right away though. I think even with drafting that high, like if he's not top 5 as a rookie, I don't think you can call it a bust or anything. But
I would have.
the fact
I
that
would have said it's a bust. I would like this bad pick.
top 5 as a
you're
rookie
tough
in
on
his
his
top 5 as a
position,
rookie. Yeah.
that's kind of crazy. But I think the fact that he's looked as good as he has, especially given the Raiders' recent history of first round picks, like definitely got to give him all of the flowers in the world for that one.
Does he make up for all the misses?
No,
probably not. But.
Nobody can. Not unless you get Patrick Mahomes in the draft or something.
I think we had today's story. Like I think, they traded the 2022 first round pick for Davante. So between 2019 and 2022, they had 7 first round picks. They have nothing to show on the roster for those 7 first round picks, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
That's why the proposed trade that all these analysts are making for Max Crosby for 2 first round picks, it don't make sense. They don't do well with first round picks.
Just never use them again.
Never, yeah. Don't even use them. Well, my matchup will be DJ Glaze against Byron Young. He rushes off the right side a lot. DJ Glaze obviously has improved week to week. I'm curious to see if maybe they'll trust him to play a little bit more one-on-one. Byron Young, good young player, but not a level of TJ Watts. So maybe if he can block him one-on-one, that kind of opens up for things for the offense a little bit because you don't have to keep in a guy to chip and those sort of things. All right, let's get into X factors. Who are you guys X factors?
Dylan Olave. No, I'm just kidding.
Redemption.
Redemption. Give him the ball back to prove that it wasn't a mistake. No, I think the X factor for me is going to be Aidan O'Connell. I mean, I'm the quarterback in the X factor, but I think for most of us, the bar has gotten maybe too low. I think he had some success last year. I think last week he didn't do very well, and I think like Antonio Pierce mentioned, like there were some plays deep that were drawn up that he thought were there, and Aiden didn't let it rip. So I think he has to be more aggressive this week. I think it's a good matchup, and I think to me there's definitely a ticking clock on him. I don't think he gets the rest of the year, so I think he has to kind of show some growth and some improvement, or else you kind of go back to Gardner or whatever. But I don't think you give Aiden the rest of the season, no matter what. I think he has to show that he can be. A guy you can think can improve over time. So I need some more aggression from him this week.
I think my X factor is Luke Getsy. I think I don't know, like watching the game live and even rewatching it, like I don't really think like I saw that many dialed up deep shots where O'Connell just passed on it. I just think the Raiders were just way too timid on offense last week in terms of their game plan and their play calling, and so they already are playing with the odds stacked against them, and they just really have no chance if that's how they're going to call the game. And so I'm really looking for Luke Getsy to ramp up the aggressiveness this week.
Yeah, and it's difficult when you're telling your quarterback no turnovers, play like a hot potato, get rid of the ball, and then at the same time you want him to hold the ball and wait for those deep shots to develop. It's mixed messaging, but yeah, I think you have to let your young quarterback just play and let loose. And I don't think Aidan O'Connell has a naturally careless type of player to him. He's not that type of quarterback. But yeah, I think you just got to let your guy let loose and not drill into his head to be so careful with the ball. But my X factor, I mean, do you guys think Zamir White is going to be a big part of the running back rotation again, or you think he's going to be phased out?
Well, that's a good question because I think, last week they clearly, even though Masson got to a great start, it wasn't enough to kind of get him more looks to kind of what with Amir Abdullah kind of, change up. So to me, that's not a good sign for him. To me, that means that there's definitely an opening for Zamir White to come back in and be a factor. And they had high hopes for Zamir before the year. He's healthier now. So I am kind of leaning towards that Zamir gets another shot to kind of at least be half of the workload, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think if you were going to give Madison kind of the full range, it would have been last week, and it didn't happen. So to me, that means Zamir still has a shot at being a factor.
Yeah, so my X factor would be Zamir White. Then, again, this is one of the worst run defense in the league. You have to get something going against them, and maybe Zamir White, he's got some fresh legs, come in, get some explosive runs against this defense.
I like it. It's a good pick.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get into our predictions. Last week, I was the only one to pick the Raiders to beat the Steelers, and they got demolished. So I'll
So you
go
should go
last.
first. You go first then. You go
I'll go
first.
first.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you go first.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to the Rams. I think the Cooper Kupp's coming back. We've seen this offense function with Cooper Kupp before, and I don't know if the Raiders could fix their run game issues that quickly against a better running back, a running back that's even harder to tackle than Najee Harris. So yeah, I think the Rams offense is gonna keep the ball for a long time. I think they're gonna score points, and I think the Raiders are still kind of figuring things out. So I'm gonna say Rams 27, Raiders 20. No, 23. 23.
Mm-hmm.
27-23. All right.
Yeah. I think I'm going to roll with the Rams as well. I have them winning this one 24-17. Many of the reasons you said, I just don't really have much reason to have faith in the Raiders offense at this point. Even though the Rams defense hasn't been good this year. I don't think that's really the Raiders haven't played all good defense this year. Like they've stunk it up against some bad defenses as well. So I don't really think that really means much to me. I'm gonna have to see it to believe it with this offense, and until we see it, I don't see them turning it around.
Well, here's the way I see it. I think pregame locker room, the guys are all getting together. I think Tom Brady walks in, gives a great speech. Guys
He's
are
not
fired up.
commentating this week. He's
commentating? All right,
Yeah,
so
I think he does that every week.
it's by remote.
Always in Dallas for some reason.
It's a video pregame speech by Tom Brady by remote, where he gets them fired up, and then Antonio Pierce jumps in and tops it off with his little few words. I like the like you said, the post Davante jolt. I'll say I think the Rams are not very good. I think there's a chance here for a little surprise. I'm not sure Cup's going to play. He might try and play, but how effective will he be? Will it be the Cooper Kupp we're all used to seeing? Probably not. So I'm going to go with I'll go with the shock. I'll go Raiders 23, Rams 21.
So what's the point spread for the game? I think it was Rams -5.5.
It's going up. People are betting the Rams like crazy. Right? I just finished my picks, and it's up to Rams by 6.5.
Wow, that's kind of surprising. I mean, I didn't think the Rams would be a good enough team to warrant that big of a spread, but
part of that is because Kupp, I think, is coming back and Adams is gone. So that's a pretty big switch, I think, for the common bettor. Like, oh, there's definitely a chance. And plus, Raiders got blown out twice in a row, so I think you're looking at maybe a team that the public season is definitely on the decline.
All right. Well, that's all we have for you guys today. So make sure you guys subscribe, turn on your notifications, hit the like button on YouTube, subscribe and leave reviews on Spotify and Apple. We appreciate you guys joining us every week. And we'll be live after the Rams game on Sunday. So make sure you catch us on YouTube live. Catch you guys on Sunday.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Hasta la vista.